a small tribe. 1,500 people. And in a little over 10 years, this tribe created an army that would later defeat the regular units of the British Empire. Their weapons could be carried in one hand. But with these weapons, they wiped dozens of nations off the map and forced half of southern Africa to flee thousands of kilometers from their native lands. You've probably heard the name of their king. But wait to name him. First, let's figure out what you really know about him. Because almost everything that is told about the Zulus in ordinary videos is the version that was invented by the European colonialists after his death. Watch to the end and you will find out one detail in his biography that still baffles historians. It completely changes the way we understand this whole story. And you will also understand how a military machine was born out of the chaos of tribal wars, which stopped the European colonization of southern Africa for almost 60 years. To begin with, it turns the familiar version upside down. For a long time, it was believed that a genius came and unleashed a wave of wars and destruction, which was later called the inflicted, the Great Fragmentation. But modern historians dispute this. It turns out that wars between large associations, Ngwane, Nwanwa, Mtetwa, raged even before this man came to power. He did not create chaos. Chaos created it. He just happened to be the one who managed to take advantage of this chaos the best. And now about the man himself. His name was Shaka. He was, in fact, a nobody. Illegitimate. His name translates as intestinal bug. There is a version that his mother tried to hide her illegitimate pregnancy. His father banished both him and his mother from the clan. The boy grew up among strangers, among ridicule and humiliation. No one was betting on him. But it is this humiliation that will become the fuel. And remember this moment, it will come back at the very end of this story. Before going any further, if you are interested in such non-obvious twists in history, subscribe. Next will be the most unusual part, which almost no one talks about. So, growing up, Shaka joins the army of a neighboring chieftain and quickly becomes the best warrior. And that's where the real revolution begins. Everyone around was fighting with long throwing spears. He threw and ran away. Shaka hated it. He ordered a short piercing spear to be forged, which required close combat, required real courage. He was called the klva. The word itself imitates the sound with which it comes out of the opponent's body. Few people know, but he also forced his soldiers to train barefoot, specially hardening their feet so that the army could move on any land faster than any enemy. And his main tactical invention was the bull horns formation. The main squad, the chest, held down the enemy with a frontal blow. And the two flanks, the horns, swiftly bypassed the enemy and closed the ring from behind. This worked even against troops that outnumbered the Zulus by several times. But weapons and tactics are only half the story. The real power was in the way Shaka rebuilt society itself. He created the Amabuto, not just warriors, but an entire caste isolated from ordinary life. The young men lived in separate military camps and did not even have the right to marry until they proved themselves in real combat. It sounds cruel, but it was this that turned aggression into fanatical devotion and forced every warrior to rush into battle in order to finally get the right to a normal life. Even the shields of the warriors were not just protection. They were made from the skins of special Nguni cattle, and the color of each skin was almost symmetrical and unique. From the picture on the shield, it was immediately clear which clan the warrior was from and which regiment he belonged to. But the bigger this power machine became, the scarier the person who controlled it became. When his mother, Nandi, died, Shaka didn't just go into mourning, he went into terror. He forbade the planting of crops for a whole year. He forbade drinking milk. He ordered the execution of pregnant women. According to various sources, about 7,000 people were executed just for not grieving enough. But Shaka's most important mistake will be ahead, and it will decide the fate of his entire empire. In 1828, his own brothers conspired and killed him. One of the brothers, Dingane, took power and almost immediately began purging all those who were loyal to the former king. It would seem that this is all. But here's an unexpected twist that is rarely told to the end. Half a century later, In the year 1879, the same military system that Shaka had built collided with the British army at Isandlwana, and the Zulus won. This is one of the rarest cases in history when the African army defeated the regular forces of the European Empire in open battle. And now the promised detail, which is still being debated between historians. To what extent did Shaka himself come up with all these reforms? Some researchers believe that much of this already existed in the culture of neighboring peoples, and Shaka was simply the first to assemble disparate ideas into a single system and bring them to perfection. That is, perhaps his main genius was not in invention, but in the ability to hear and connect. So the Zulus is not a story about wild rage, as it is usually presented. This is a story about sophisticated military and social engineering that was decades ahead of its time. But the price of this car turned out to be huge, both for the neighbors and, as a result, for its creator himself. Which fact from this video surprised you the most? Write in the comments and subscribe if you want more of these stories, which are usually silent.